Okay, we are now to Project Draft 1, Assignment 3.2. And I really can't stress this enough. If you watch no other videos that I do this entire term, please, 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 please watch this one because this assignment can get really confusing. This is also going to help you with parts 5.2 and 7.1. So watch all the way through to the end, okay? So you're at your Project Draft 3.2. Recognize it's worth 135 points, so we do not want to mess this up. But when you look here, right here, it gives you a chance to submit your assignment right here. But that doesn't give you any information whatsoever on what the assignment is. So you're going to have to click here on Guidelines and Rubric, and that is going to take you to this page, Module 3 Project Guidelines and Rubric. And this reminds us that sustainability development is looking at our needs, and we want to make sure that we're looking at all the different interconnected perspectives that we've been talking about all term. So we want to look at those three pillars, the environmental, economic, and social sustainability pillars. Now with this one, what you're going to do is you're going to decide one of those perspectives that you want to research from, either starting from an environmental perspective and seeing how economic and social sustainability work, or economic and seeing how social and environmental work, or social and seeing economic and environmental. So you're going to choose one of those perspectives in order to have as your focus. Now, when we look at this, again, follow along so I can show you exactly what to do. You will look at the project guidelines and rubric in order to understand the goal, what you're trying to do. Then we're going to look at the project examples and see which one of your examples you're going to choose. If you choose something other than what's on this list, you're going to have to come ask me permission for it first. But this is going to be a great list and you're probably going to want something from it. Then we're going to start looking to see, when we choose our topic, does the example show a clear connection between people and sustainability? If it doesn't, we're going to have to re-choose. What systems are involved and how do they interact? And does the example highlight challenges or solutions related to sustainability? Don't worry, it'll make more sense in a minute. So once we do that, then we're going to have to address those perspectives and start answering the questions about how these impact human behavior, what the natural resources are, the ideologies, and cultural beliefs. Now, with that in mind, let's sort of move forward. I'm going to show you right now, these are the questions that you're going to have to answer. You're going to have to look at the interconnectedness of these environmental issues and human behavior and how it relates to the environmental systems, the natural resources, the ideologies, and the role of cultural bias. Now, we're going to look at all of these supporting materials, and there's lots of different pages. I generally say don't print because I love the environment, but you might want to print here. It also does say here you should use 12-point Times New Roman font. I personally hate Times New Roman font. I would prefer if you use something like Calibri. It's a much more accessible font. So the first thing you're going to have to open up is this project template. So click right here and make sure you open that up. I will show you that document as soon as I can find it again. I've got 1,000 windows open here. Let's drag and drop this in. This is going to be your project template. Download this onto your computer and make sure you've got it saved. This is what you're going to be doing to answer all of the questions for for assignment 3.2, 5.2, and 7.1. So this is just filling in this area. That's your chosen example. For part 1, you're going to be answering these 4 questions: the environmental systems, natural resources, ideology, and cultural bias. So that's your 3.2 assignment. For assignment 5.2, you're going to be answering all of the rest of the questions here. I don't want you just doing part 2. You need to do, for 5.2, you need to do parts 2 and 3. Once you've got that all down, you're going to have everything you need for assignment 7.1, because 7.1, that final assignment, is just putting everything together. So you'll have a chance to submit each piece once, and then I will give you feedback, and then you can revise it for that final submission. So this is the document that you should be saving onto your computer in order to answer all of these questions. Please, where it says insert text, that's where you put your text in. And please remove this thing that says remove it before you submit your paper. With that said, let's move this back out of the way so we know that's our template that we're going to have to fill in. Make sure you fill that in each week. Now, what are we going to fill it in with? This is where we need to pull up these supporting materials. So we're going to open up project examples next. This is different examples of what you can do when you want to look at your perspective. And you get to choose your sustainability perspective. Do you want to choose environmental, economic, or social perspective? Each one of these has what we call a research starter. So that's going to start getting you excited and involved in understanding the concept. So each one of these has an article that you can access through EBSCO. The one, if you want to look at the business perspective, looks at the triple bottom line. And that's the 3 pillars, people, profit, planet. And it's an accounting term to determine how we can make the most money by making sure we tackle all 3 of those. You could also choose the environmental sustainability perspective. That looks at the lead as far as Green Building Council and looks at how we're developing places in order to make sure that they fit with the earth. And then, of course, we have the third perspective, environmental justice and environmental racism. So that's looking at your social perspective first and then looking at the other 2 perspectives. So when you look at those examples, choose your perspective first. Do you want to do economic, social, or environmental? And from there, we then have different ways for your paper to process into. So these are some good research starters looking at Adidas, corporate responsibility at L'Oreal, tourism and environment in Florida. So look at each one of these case studies and see if that's a case study that you want to use. If you have a different case study, you need to reach out to me. As far as example of your choice, contact your instructor prior to submitting to make sure that I've approved it. And I'm only doing that because I want to make sure you're not picking something that's going to send you in the wrong direction. So when you're answering all of those questions that I mentioned on that project template, you should be focusing on that research starter, which should start you in that direction. And then one of these different case studies that's going to help give you lots more information. You can also use other resources, but again, make sure that they are fitting in with that prompt. Once you do, you can also then identify a real world or cultural example that actually connects to your topic. So you might want to, again, bring in some more things about why you chose that. I'll look down here as an example and say, looking at L'Oreal, for those of you who might be into makeup, explaining how that sort of fits into what you have experienced in your own life. So again, we want to make sure that we tie that perspective right into what we're looking at for these answering all these questions. So again, we've got a lot of moving pieces here. We've got that that project template you need to fill out, the project examples that you need right here, some pop culture examples in order to emphasize that a little bit more, using all of these different research guides in order to start your thinking. And then let's take a look at the project guidelines and rubric. So when we start looking at it, we want you to explore all of these concepts in depth, the environmental, economic, and social. I also want you, again, you choose your example. The first part of your project, this is part 1. These 4 questions are going to be for your 3.2 assignment. Then we move on to part 2 and 3. Part 2 and 3 will both be part of your 5.2 assessment and fill them in right onto your project template. Make sure that you pay attention to the rubric that will tell you how much each section is worth, so that you can make sure that you have that, you're meeting all of those different expectations. I hope this helps you a little bit with all of these moving pieces. Again, please make sure you reach out if you have any questions. Please reach out if you want to do a topic other than that's in that list so that we can make sure that you are rocking this project and doing the best possible thing you can. And reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.